I know you felt a certain type of way about 9 to 5, and I have my perception of 9 to 5. And I just would love for you to give your insights on how you feel about being a 9 to 5 worker or not being a 9 to 5 worker. Had to keep chasing our dreams.
So you get 24 hours in a day, right? 8 of those hours automatically go towards sleep. That's a given. You need to rest your body up to get prepared for the next day. So you have 16 hours throughout the day. You mean tell me you're going to spend 12 of those 16 hours working for a job? So now you're only left with 4 hours, right? So now we got 4 hours to live. How crazy does that sound? Out of one whole day, you only get 4 hours to live, and it's actually not even 4 hours. If you break it down simpler, you have to spend at least an hour of that getting ready or getting prepared for the job. You have to spend an hour of that getting ready or prepared for bed. So you're down to 2 hours. Well, what about the time it takes for you to cook? What about the time it takes for you to clean the house? What about the time it takes you to answer phone calls or answer emails or whatever it is you do when you get home? You actually find yourself not being able to live. And that's tough. Only because you allowed this 9 to 5 to take control of your life. So you live in this 9 to 5, you're working this 9 to 5, and you're living at that 9 to 5. You're living through that 9 to 5, which doesn't make sense to me. Just from a time standpoint, it's not enough time in a day to be giving it all towards one subject, that being the 9 to 5, right? And I'm totally against that. I believe that people are put on this earth to live. People are put on this earth to live. Well, you ever heard of the phrase, I'm making a living?
Mm-hmm.
People actually say that a lot, but it doesn't make sense to me because in order to be making a living, you have to do some living. Now let's go back to the numbers. We just broke it down, and you're not really getting an hour a day to live. So where are you making a living at? You're not actually living, right? You're actually making a killing. And I heard people say that. I heard people use that phrase quite often as well. Oh, I'm at the job, I'm killing them. With overtime, I'm getting overtime this. I'm making a killing. Well, you actually are making a killing. You're killing yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're killing your dreams, right? Mm-hmm. You're killing your health. You're killing your relationships. So you're not really living. You don't get a chance to live at a 9 to 5 at all. And that's why I'm totally against it.
Wow.
We should be living.
Wow, that's deep. We definitely should be living. And just to touch bases on a few points that you made, I was a 9 to 5er, and I found myself waking up in pure misery. I mean, every time the alarm clock would go off, I could not believe that sound was there again to wake me up, to torture me. From morning until I got off was all about the job. Yeah. Getting to the job, preparing for the job, not being late for the job. The moment that the alarm clock woke me up, it was so that I could get to the job on time. And then so I get to the job and I'm miserable for 8 to 10 hours. Well, I work 10 hours a day. Yeah. And I was one of those people, people say, oh, I'm killing it with overtime. I was one of those people. Because I've always been chasing the bag. And at that time, that was my version of chasing the bag. Yeah. You know, and the bag was actually chasing me into a fucking stress attack. Okay? Yeah. And so how I wound up getting out of that situation, I'll never forget the day. To me, it's an amazing day. It actually makes me emotional a little bit talking about it because it was the day that changed my life. It was the day that I became great. It was the day that I started following my dreams and living my full potential. You talked about living. Well, I wasn't living until that day, and I didn't know it until that day. Yeah. So real quick, I'm sitting in my cubicle. It's a square. And I spin around in the chair and I'm like, okay, yeah, this is a goddamn square, right? I'm trying to milk the clock. Only 5 minutes go by. I get up, I walk around, I come back, only another 10 minutes go by. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, this shit feels bad. It feels real bad. It is consuming all of me for someone else's dream. And I have to commit to this. So as I turned in the chair and I realized that I was in a box, I actually felt for a brief moment that I was in prison. That actually came across my mind, like this cubicle is really close to jail. I got the pictures on the wall, like the inmates be having. You know, I never been to jail.
Yeah.
But I'm just assuming from watching the shows
Watching
that you
the
put from watching the movies that you put the pictures on the wall to give you some hope. And I had the pictures on my cubicle to give me some hope because every day I wanted to quit. And so when that hit me like a ton of bricks, I'm like, yo, you're smarter than this. You're better than this. You got so much potential. You got so much to give the world. It's time you get out this box.
Yeah.
It's time you get out this box. And I walked into my supervisor's office and I quit. I did put in 2 weeks notice to be professional. I came in the very next day. As soon as I seen the cubicle, I walked right back out the fucking door. I was like, I can never, ever go in that box again. And she's like, no, be professional.
So you didn't fulfill your 2 weeks?
I did not fulfill my 2 weeks. I tried. I did come in the next day, and I told her, I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't do it. I just can't.
Well, you were smart. Why waste another two weeks of your life? You already made a decision to live.
To live. Let me ask you a question, because since I've known you, and I've known you quite a while, but since I've known you, I've never seen you work. I've never heard you say, oh, Sunny, I'll see you after work. Or, you know, I just never heard the word work as in a 9 to 5 kind of work come out your mouth. So you've been pretty successful. And it's a great look on you, by the way.
Oh, appreciate it.
You know, you've been pretty successful. So I'm just curious, how many jobs have you ever worked? Just out of curiosity.
I would say about maybe 3 jobs. I worked about 3 jobs, yeah.
And how long did you work at these 3 jobs?
What was the longest?
Yeah, what was the longest period that you worked at these jobs?
About 3 months was the longest. At one of the jobs, I worked about 3 months.
Okay, so you never really worked?
No. I worked. I really worked. But
you really worked? Well, I mean, that's not really that 9 to 5 life. But so you knew immediately that you wasn't about that.
Yeah,
life.
I knew immediately from the jump.
Okay.
This wasn't for me. I knew this wasn't something that I could see myself doing long term. It didn't feel good when I went in there. You know, it didn't feel like this was something that I was supposed to be doing. Right? So I never got comfortable working a job, a 9 to 5. It never felt like, okay, Jolly, this is where you're supposed to be. This is setting you up for your future. This is what's going to expand your future. This is what's going to allow you to become who it is that you want to be. That was never the case working a job, so I never felt that. And also, I hated reporting. I hated getting up and going to work. I really, really, really hated it. I always see myself as someone that will actually own the company and have people coming in to work for me. So it never worked out. But but I stayed there for 3 months one time.
One time.
Yeah.
Well, I just had a light bulb moment when you were speaking, because what you just described is how most people feel. Most people feel that they should not be there. And I don't think it really feel good for the majority. I don't think it's many that be like, oh, this is where I belong. This is comfortable. I don't even think anyone is comfortable. But what's crazy is they're comfortable because a paycheck is guaranteed every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But they're uncomfortable with those 8 hours, 8 to 10 hours a day.
So what I can say about that is this. What we do for money dominates our time woke. And like we touched on earlier, you only get, on average, the average human gets about 16 hours woke. That's really the time we spend living. Mm-hmm. So if we can try kind of reverse that and do the opposite, have the opposite hold true, the time that we spend sleep, have the time that we spend sleep actually make us the money, then we can use those 16 hours to start living and not really have the hours that we spend working dominate our lives.
Yeah, that's deep.
Yeah, that's when success really starts. That's when you'll be able to see and feel successful.
I agree 100%. And I can almost, because I was a 9 to 5 for so long, I can almost hear people screaming, well, how the hell am I supposed to pay my bills? I can almost hear them saying that. and saying, well, if someone doesn't, because I know for me, quitting my job and going out to be an entrepreneur and making my own income, I know one of the things that crossed my mind quite a bit was, if someone's not paying me every 2 weeks, how am I going to get money, right? And I think it's real important to touch bases on, we are all talented. Like, we all have a skill set. We all have something inside of us that is money. You can't even look at it like a skill. You have to look at it like it's money.
Yeah.
It's revenue. Money is only energy. Yeah. Money gets put on this pedestal as if it's a god when it's paper like anything else. And it holds energy like anything else. And it just transfers from hands to hands to hands to hands. Right? So if you have this skill, someone will transfer the money from their hand to your hand for your skill, for your knowledge, for what it is that you know. So I'll say to anyone who's at that breaking point about to explode, they feel like they stuck in that 9 to 5 and they're afraid of, how am I actually going to survive if someone don't pay me? I really would like to get the message out there. You can survive, but first you need to know your skills. Yeah. And if you're not good at your skills, enhance them. Yeah. Enhance them. We live in a time today where everything is accessible to you. You can go on YouTube, you can go here, you can go there. You can learn any skill. And if you already have an interest in a skill, whether that's photography, editing, it doesn't matter what it is, you can master that skill. And with the power of the law of attraction, it will bring you all the people that will help you along the way. Yeah. Like right now, as you're a worker, you're hanging out with workers. Yeah. So you're on a worker vibration, right? You're hanging out, Absolutely. You're going to happy hour, you're talking trash about the job, about the boss, about the hours, about the pay. That's your vibration. That's who you hang with. Birds of a feather do flock together. Yeah. Because when you flocking a little bit higher, then you have a different conversation. Yeah. Your conversation becomes, how can we get a business permit? How can we, get that real estate over there on the other side of town in that good zip code? Your conversation changed, so your energy changed and your company changed. Yeah. So when you decide to not be a worker and to jump out there to be an entrepreneur, the universe is going to send people that will help you. It's going to send people that show you the way, as long as you open to it. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So one thing I can say about that is, we're working a 9 to 5. We're sacrificing our lives for money, right? And it's happening so slowly that we barely take notice. So what I'll tell those people, it starts with the mindset. Once you change your way of thinking, you'll find yourself in better company. You'll find yourself around better people.
I agree 100%. It definitely starts with the mind. It starts with the mind for the money as well, because the money in your bank account have to be in your mind first as well. Yeah. You have to believe that you can get money for your skills. You have to believe that everything that you desire is obtainable. If someone else did it before, you can do it. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so also, I want people to look at leaving your job, for those who want to leave their job. And I know there's millions will probably be an understatement. Yeah. I cannot tell you how many conversations I hear about complaining about work. You know what I mean? It's overwhelming. It's stressful. It's literally the pits of hell, if I had to call it something. Yeah. And it's going to be those people that say, oh, I went to college, I love my job. And that's fine. That's fine, because there is some people who went to school for a specific trade and that was their dream, right? Because if we're talking about following your dreams, most people aren't living in their dream at a 9 to 5.
Oh, that's deep.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Most people are working for somebody else's dream. Yeah, absolutely. So there are those few 9 to 5ers who their dream was to be a nurse. And they went to college to be a nurse, and now they're a nurse and they are a 9 to 5er. Mm-hmm. That's perfectly fine. Either way is fine, because we don't judge. However you want to work is fine. But what we're saying is, if you are waking up every morning and the moment you open your eyes and you are dreading your day, you're in a situation called the rat race. Yeah. You are in the rat race. You are in the trap. Trap. The real trap. Like you are in it, and happiness is never going to come from that. And listen, you guys look forward to the weekend, right? Because what's the weekend? The weekend is everything when you working.
Yeah.
It's everything. And then you get that break. Think about how happy you are on the weekend, and that could be your real life.
That could be every day.
That could be every single day.
Every day can be
how
the
happy
weekend.
you are on the weekend. Think about that Friday when you be like, yes, I don't have to come in here tomorrow. That feeling of happiness, and then when you living out your Saturday, you wake up when you feel like it, you do what you want, you go to the market. That's really how we were designed to live.
That's how it should be every day.
Now, how do the world go around in that sense? Well, we are creators.
Yeah.
You are supposed to be creating. You are supposed to be creating. You could be creating a new airplane, a new technology, a new kind of cell phone, some jewelry, a t-shirt, a new hair product, some mustache clippers. I mean, anything. You name it, you are supposed to be creating. That is our true calling. That's our true passion. It was never to sit there and fulfill someone else's dream.
So I'll propose this question to people with a 9-to-5, right? I often tell them, how much do you make a year? So I say the average 9-to-5 would make somewhere in between 25,000, 30,000 a year, right? Hopefully. Hopefully.
Why you got these people
That's
working
a lot.
at?
I got them in an upper scale job, I guess, so to say.
See y'all, he is not
I'm
a
not a
9-to-5. He
I'm
don't even
not.
know the yearly
But listen,
salaries.
what's
He's
the
talking about an
yearly
upper
salary?
scale job.
What's the yearly salary? For like minimum wage or something?
For like minimum wage, I don't know. I think minimum wage just went up to $15 an hour.
No, so how much is that yearly?
So I think the average person should be making at least like $25,000 a year.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The average person should be making about $25,000, $30,000 a year, right?
Yeah.
But out of those people, I would say about 85% of those people don't have $5,000 in their bank account right now. Mm-hmm. But you made $30,000 a year, right? Over the whole course of last year, you made $30,000. But you don't even have $5,000 in your bank account right now. What are you working for? How much time did you waste? Really, actually, pay attention to the overall, the bigger picture. You don't even have $5,000 in your bank account right now, but you're busting your ass every day to get up every morning to go to this job to report, to make a living. Is what they said. But you're working every day, hard as hell.
Yeah, you're not living much. You're working a lot.
Paycheck to paycheck. But you don't even have $5,000 in your bank account right now. But you made $30,000 the whole year.
Yeah.
What that telling me is you're not working for yourself. You're working for everyone else. Everybody else got their hand in your pocket. Every time you get paid, there's a person sitting next to you saying, look, break me off mine. Give me what you owe me. And at the end of the day, what you're left with. You come home with $1,000. What you left with after you shelve out all the payments, all your bills. You left with about $100, if that.
Yeah.
That's not a way to live. You cannot live off $100. So you could take that same skill set that you apply to that job every day and do the same exact thing, but make the money come to you. Make it be your money. So that's what I do. I do my own thing.
I agree 100%. And I couldn't agree more. And one thing when you brought up the 30,000, what immediately hit me is people never see that 30,000.
Never.
They never actually see that in an account, and they never even see it weekly, because the moment this is what they will never tell you as being a worker. Once you make a decision that I'm going to work, you are then put in a work category. And that work category means we are going to tax the fuck out of you because you're not bold enough to do your own thing. And that seems so screwed up. It seems like the government couldn't possibly think like that. The upper scale people couldn't possibly think like that. That's not how the rich... Listen, so many people get upset with the rich. Oh my God, they don't pay taxes. They don't give money back to the poor. Guess what? They decided to be rich.
Yeah.
You decided to work. And the thing about it is, the rich is never going to pay taxes. People get so upset about this. Oh my God, they don't have to do anything. This is so unfair. We're hard worker. You're choosing to be a hard worker. You applied at a job that was going to make you a hard worker. Instead of them applying for a job, they applied for a business permit. Right? They went in a different direction, and their direction exceeded them to the point that they have that amount of money that they know how to maneuver their properties around, put a little real estate here, real estate there, and they don't pay no taxes, you know? And so I think it's really important to just you touching on that 30,000, it really just gave me the chills, because no one will ever see that 30,000, not even weekly, because the moment you pay taxes, then you paying Medicare, because you decided to be a worker. You have to pay for when you're going to need Medicare at 62 years old, I think. So all of this come with deciding to be a worker. Oh, you want to work? Oh, we're going to work you till you're 62. And then we'll give you this little change that we've been taking out your paycheck, which is probably not even going to be around when most people are 62. They're saying Medicare isn't even going to make it the next 20 years, hardly. Yeah. So here you are in this cycle of this rat race, following the other rats. And if you feel for a moment that rat in front of you stink and you ready to go in a different direction, jump right out of the pattern.
And guess who's in control of that?
Jump right out of the pattern.
Guess who's in control of that?
Who?
You. You ultimately control and shape your future and your destination. Mm-hmm. You're in control of everything you do. Like you said, you apply for that job. Mm-hmm. No one picked you up and magically sit you over here and say, look, you're going to sit in this office and apply for this job. Mm-hmm. You went in that door. You filled out that application.
You went in there.
You lied on that application.
You lied. You went in there and you lied. You told them people you would be there every day on time. Yeah. You would be sharp. You said that you had skills that you really didn't have. Lie to yourself. Tell yourself you have those skills. Go get those skills.
You were successful. You got yourself in there.
You got yourself a job.
Yep, you got yourself in there. And guess what else you could do? You can get yourself out.
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 And start to live. Because we were put on this world, on this planet to live.
We were put here to live.
To live. We weren't put here to be workers. I'm gonna continue to drill that in your head, man. Mm-hmm. We wasn't here to be workers. Yeah. We were here to create. We were here to living. To me is ultimately what makes you happy. Whatever makes you happy, that's living. You're living. You're happy. You're excited to do it. So if you're not excited to do it, you're not living. Don't live every day the same and call it living. I preach this all the time. Don't live every day the same and call it living. You're not living.
Yeah, you're working. I gotta stress that, because when you say working. Living, all I hear is you're working. Now, just to touch bases on some things that you said, and I'm even going to contradict both of us a little bit, because I love quotes. Yeah. And so our quote for this episode is, if you don't want to work a 9 to 5, be prepared to hustle 24/7. So I got to ask your opinion as being an entrepreneur. Do you feel that quote is true?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you said people can get more time from not working, but it's a lot of time put into being an entrepreneur. But tell them the difference in the emotions behind the time put into being an entrepreneur.
Well, straight off the bat, I'll tell you that the time that you're putting in being an entrepreneur is for yourself. So that's the biggest catalyst.
So it gets incorporated with living.
Yeah, so
because
that's
for you.
a part of living, because it's for yourself.
Yeah.
So working a job, you're actually working someone else's dream. Mm-hmm. It's not your dream. You're working to accomplish someone else's dream. You're just a piece in that puzzle in their life. You're actually living their life. So it's like they're holding you as a puppet, and they're telling you exactly what to do so you can fill in this void in their life. Mm-hmm. And you get nothing out the deal. You get a paycheck, but I mean, how much is that? Like we said, we went over the 30,000 analogy earlier. You don't get anything.
You don't get anything. Because if I break it down, I stop with Medicare. Yeah, if I wanted to break it down, we would be down to a paycheck full of nothing. Pennies. Especially by the time you pay your utilities and this and that and this and that.
It's pennies. You're actually working for nothing. So being an entrepreneur, while it is time consuming, you're doing all this for yourself. So that's the beauty of it. So it's a trade-off. It's a trade-off. So you're working actually for yourself. And the good thing about it is, if you don't come into that job, that 9 to 5 one day, and you don't call in, guess what? You don't have a job. You're fired. You're under the discretion of someone else's control. You're fired. But guess what?
Yeah.
I tell you the truth about being an entrepreneur. If you don't wake up or if you oversleep on a job and you're supposed to get a task done, guess what?
What?
You can get that task done later on.
You definitely can.
Because you're in control. You're
You
not under the
definitely
discretion
can.
of someone else.
You
So that's the
definitely
beauty
can.
of being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And the business actually thrives by how much work you put into it. You get out of it what you put in.
Yeah. For
Beautiful.
sure. For sure.
Beautiful.
My insight on that is I freaking love being an entrepreneur. And I do put in way more hours than I put in when I was working a 9-to-5 because I got my hands on so many different projects that produces revenue, right?
And it's time consuming.
It is. It's time consuming. But here's the difference. It feels good doing it.
Yeah.
Because it's all the things that I love. It's all my little passions.
And you work harder, but it don't feel like it.
It don't feel like it.
It don't feel like
It don't feel like it. It don't even feel like work. You know why? Because it's what I love to do.
Yeah.
So it's being incorporated in those hours of living.
Yeah.
Because those hours of living, I'm choosing to do things I love.
Yeah.
And I'm getting
And that's living.
And that's living. And I'm getting compensated for doing those things.
Yeah.
So, that in itself, for me, I'll never go back to any box, okay?
Yeah.
There's no possible way that you'll get me back in that box.
That's deep.
So it's all about perception. It's all about what you feel. And there's going to be some people that would debate this to the end. We would love for y'all comments down below.
Yeah. See, what I don't want people to think is that I dislike people that work a 9-to-5, or I have no regards for people that work a 9-to-5, or I just hate people that work a 9-to-5. If that's what's worked for you, then my golly, so be it. Let it be. Work that 9-to-5 till your fucking hands fall off. But if you feel for a second that this isn't for you, guess what? It's not. If it don't feel good, that's not what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
It's not what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
You got to find your purpose in this life because you only get one of them. And while you're here, while you're in this body, do what you want to do. Do what makes you feel good. Live your life. Live your life. Don't live someone else's. That's not what it was intended to be. You wasn't put here to live someone else's dream. You got your own dreams. Focus on those things. Get some things done. Take some chances. Jump out a few windows. Get a few things wrong. And then figure it out along the way. And you'll meet people that'll help you figure it out. And you'll get more understanding. You'll get better as time goes.
Yeah. And I can guarantee you this, if nothing else. If you take that jump, the parachute will open.
Yeah.
It's going to open. It's going to open. Now, that's what I'm talking about the unknown. Because if you jump out there, you don't know if the parachute going to open. If you jump out the plane, if you jump out of anything, right? But you have enough faith that they said that the equipment was good. They told you to hit that button, and you have enough faith that it's going to open. And if you jump out there, it will open. And this is coming from a non-9-to-5er and a real 9-to-5er. Okay, I did it.
Well, obviously the 9-to-5 didn't work for you.
It didn't.
You didn't stick to it.
I didn't.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying, jump.
Yeah, get out of there. Jump.
Quit. Run. Don't even give the last 2 weeks. Get out of there. Get out of there. Get out of there. If this was for you and this was that push you needed, I hope you got it. Don't ask nobody their advice.
Oh, that's a big one.
Don't you dare ask anybody their advice, because the average people are 9-to-5ers and they're going to tell you you're crazy, you got a family, you got bills, you got this. Trust me, the parachute will open. There are millions of us out here that are entrepreneurs, and our parachutes are open. I've made more money than I've ever made working for somebody. I'm more free than I've ever been working for somebody, and I'm more happy than I've ever been working for somebody. If you feel like this is you and your time, I hope this podcast helped you. Again, we're on Mondays and Fridays, all major platforms. Remember, you can pretend to be anybody, or you can really just be yourself. So be you, and we are now us. Non-worker.
Hey, I'm cool with that.
3-month working ass.
My bank account looks like I've been working for years.
Yes, hey. Give me some. Let me get some. Can I be your assistant?
Sure. Come along. Quit that now. I've set you up in as a 9-to-5er.
Oh, no. I'm out.
Yeah, you can work.
I'm out. Millions of inmates are incarcerated with no mental way to escape their reality besides reading and the hopes of their release. Books for Time provide books to prisons all over the U.S. Visit naturallysunny.com to donate to Books for Time or to purchase one of Sunny's books. This ad was sponsored by Sunni Jolly Productions, where they bring your vision to the screen.